Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And in today's video, we're going to go into how to solve for linear systems using elimination and substitution. I did show this earlier on in my channel using quadratic equations, but I never showed it with linear systems. Now you're going to find the steps are going to be the same, but without square roots. But let's break it down. Let's start with substitution. With substitution, whenever you want to solve this system here, your first step is always going to be the same. Your first step should be isolate one of my variables. Okay? It could be any of them. I could isolate x, I can isolate y. In this case, I'm going to try to isolate x. And I'm going to do it from the second equation because it looks the most easiest. So I'm going to use this equation. I'm going to get x by itself. And I can do that by moving the negative 2y to the other side by adding it to both sides. That's going to leave me with positive 2y and 10. Now my x is by itself. That leads me to my second step. We're going to substitute that variable in the other. It's important you substitute it into the other equation. Okay, so if I used this equation to get my x by itself, then I'm going to substitute it into this equation. So sub x is equal to 2y plus 10 into this second equation. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to have 2, and instead of x, I'm going to have 2y plus 10. Now, mind you could have solved for the x and done the exact same thing. Plus y is equal to 5. You're going to have to distribute here. 2 has to multiply by the 2y and by the 10. If you have trouble with this, make a tally. So you can do a tally on the side. 2 has to multiply by 2y, and 2 has to multiply with 10. Okay, so that's going to give you 4y plus 20 plus y is equal to 5. All right. You're then going to collect your like terms and move the 20 to the other side. So you're going to have 5y is equal to negative 15 because you're going to have 5 minus 20. And divide both sides by 5, giving you negative 3. So I have accomplished finding one of my variables. So we're going to move on to step number 3. Step number 3, you are going to sub the variable into the first equation that we made. When I say the first equation we made, I'm talking about this equation. Remember, we first made this equation, x is equal to 2y minus 10, not minus plus 10. Apologies. And I now know that y is negative 3. Using a lightsaber here in honor of the episode of Boba Fett from yesterday. Yep. So that negative 3 is going to go in here. So you're going to go x is equal to 2. Instead of the y, you are going to be putting negative 3 plus 10. Let's solve it. So you've got negative 6 plus 10. So x is 4. we have our 2 points. Therefore, the POI is put your x first, then put your y. And that is solving for this system of equation using substitution. These steps work every time. You can also modify step number 2 so you can talk about it in general, because all it says there is substitute that variable into the other equation. Obviously, after that, you are expanding and simplifying for the remaining variable. So, and isolate. The remaining variable. Okay, so that's how we solve using substitution. Now I'm going to be showing you the steps of how you would solve using elimination. Okay, so in this next problem here, we're going to be solving this equation using elimination. So our first step, always when you want to do elimination, just like we said in our other video, is you're going to choose the variable that you want to eliminate. Okay, now in this case, I want to get rid of the y. It's pretty easy to get rid of the y in this case. Why is it easy? Because, as you can see here, I've got 2y and negative 2y. So quite simply, all I would have to do is add the two equations together. Now, normally there would be another step here. There isn't in this case because this one's a more of an easy one. Your second step would usually be to multiply one or both of your equations with a common factor. I will show an example where you have to do that in the next example, but in this case, obviously, you don't need to do that. And for number 3, you're going to take this value, the value that you created, and you're going to sub it into either equation to solve for the other variable. Okay, so let's go through this. Step 1, I've already decided I want to get rid of my y. Step 2, I have to multiply one or both of these equations by a common factor. I don't need to do that in this case because they are already in a form that I can get rid of. So I'm going to add the two equations together. And you always want to do this by column here. So you're always going to go here. So I'm going to do 3x plus 5x. That should give you 8x. And over here, you've got 2y plus minus 2y. So overall, you've got a 2y minus 2y. That's just 0, so that's gone. And then you've got 19 plus 5, which is 24. You then want to get the x by itself, so you're going to divide both sides by 8. So x is 3. So we've done step 1, we've done step 2. We didn't really need to do step 2. So now we're going to do step 3. We're going to substitute this into one of the equations. I'm going to substitute it into line 1. This is 1, this is 2. So sub x is equal to 3 into 1. So instead of x, this is going to turn into 3. 2y is equal to 19. Let's do the multiplication. So you got 9 plus 2y is equal to 19. Bring the 9 to the other side by subtracting it. 2y is equal to 10. That leaves me with y is equal to, when I divide both sides by 2, 5. So therefore, point of intersection is 3, 5. And that's it. That's how you do it using elimination. And that's on the simple end of the question. So I'm going to now show you where you would have to actually use that second step in another example. Okay, so if you need to solve this one through elimination, you can notice in this one, it's not going to be as easy. So let's say I want to get rid of the x. So I'm following my first step. I want to get rid of the x, but here I've got 1x, and here I've got 2x. I can't just simply add them or subtract them from each other to get rid of them. So one thing you're going to have to do first is multiply by a common factor. I can turn this x into the 2x by multiplying it by 2. Multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2, because you can't just multiply one thing by 2, you have to multiply everything by the same number. Now, if this was a different situation where this still didn't get you a common factor, you would also have to do the same thing for the other with a different number. Think common denominators. So now when we do this multiplication, we're going to be having 2x plus 8y is equal to 12. The other one remains the same, 2x minus 3y is equal to 1. We want to get rid of this 2x. The only way to do that is to subtract them from each other. 2 apples minus 2 apples is going to give me 0 apples. I have no apples. Then, of course, you're going to have your next one. So plus 8y minus minus, I see a minus minus. 2 bad girls gives you a good girl. 2 negatives gives a positive. 3y. So 8y plus 3y is going to give me a 11y. 12 minus 1 is going to give me 11. Divide both sides by 11. So y is 1. My y is done. So I've done step 1. I've done step 2. Let's go to step 3. Step 3, I'm going to sub y is equal to 1. Let's label this equation 1 and equation 2. Let's put it in the second equation. Okay. So 2x minus 3, and instead of y, I'm going to put 1. That leaves me with 2x minus 3 is equal to 1. Let's move the 3 to the other side, making it positive. So 2x is equal to 4. Divide both sides by 2. So x is 2. So therefore, always remember your therefore statement. The POI is 2, 1. And that is elimination and substitution of linear systems. I hope you have understood all the steps as shown here today, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Goodbye.